Last couple of questions. Your colleague, Lee Anderson, Tory Vice Chairman, has told express.co.uk if they, the asylum seekers, don't like the barges, then they should clear off, I've changed that word, clear off back to France. Yeah. Does he speak for the party?
Yeah, Lee Anderson expresses the righteous indignation of the British people. Yeah, he does it in salty terms, and that's his style. But his indignation is well placed.
This barge gets to full capacity, 500. That would only be 1% of all the asylum seekers who are currently in hotels. It would take 100 barges to get them all out of hotels. That's just not going to happen, is it?
Right, well, there are two things to say. First of all, it's not all about barges. So, as I indicated, there are disused army bases that are under active consideration, and enormously important work is taking place there as well. And
but it may be that there will be. But that's not happened yet either, has it? You've promised that, and it's tied up.
Not quite so. I mean, those are really quite advanced. That work is advanced. But look, this stuff doesn't happen overnight, not least because of the very legal challenges that you've referred to. So we have to do everything we lawfully can in a nation of laws to ensure that continues, and we will continue to do so. But we are absolutely determined that the British people's generosity should not be abused. Look, this is a fair nation. This is an opening nation. It's a welcoming nation. We've taken over 400,000 people since 2015, whether it's people from Ukraine or people fleeing persecution in Hong Kong and so on. We will do all this. What we won't do is to ensure that we're taken advantage of by those who seek to jump the queue by arriving illegally, because it's not fair that those who play by the rules and do the right thing are watching the queue being jumped by those who have arrived illegally. That's not fair. It's not fair on the British people, and that's why we will do everything we can to drive down the cost of accommodation. What we're ensuring is that our ability to hold them to account, to bring them to a justice, is increased, and that simply preserves the reputation of lawyers and ensures that the excellent work they do can continue in the normal way.
By your own admission, it's a small minority. It's a big headline for a small minority, and frankly, to many people, might just seem like a very good distraction from the fact that the backlog is going up and you are not able to deal with it properly. And you've been in power for almost 14 years.
Well, we will meet those legal challenges, and we will do everything we can to address them, to win the day, and to ensure that more people get on that barge.
But just 15 so far on the Bibby Stockholm. I mean, it's moving at a snail's pace, isn't it? It's not doing anything to tackle that huge backlog of 50,000 people, 50,000 migrants that are currently in hotels. It's costing us £2.2 billion a year. I mean, the system is broken, isn't it?
Well, there's a couple of things to say. First of all, in terms of the backlog that you referred to, that backlog is coming down. So it's down by 17,000 over recent weeks. The number of decisions up by 35%. The Home Office is doubling the number of caseworkers, etc. But of course, we've got to get it down. But this barge sends a very powerful message that those people who want to come to our country illegally, who want to jump the queue compared to those who play by the rules and do the right thing, for whom we will always have open hearts and open homes. But if people don't want to play by the rules, then they shouldn't expect that they're going to waltz into four-star accommodation, but they are potentially going to go onto a barge. And that sends a really powerful message.
A letter was seen by Sky News yesterday, which shows that asylum seekers who didn't get on the barge yesterday must board today or face having their government support cancelled. Now, a lot of these people may well have legitimate reasons to claim asylum. Are you breaking your legal responsibility to these refugees by threatening them with this?
Well, look, those who object to going on the barge can seek legal advice and try to resist it in the normal way, and we will have those arguments played out in an independent court. That's absolutely right. But look, the point about the barge...
But you're saying to them, not that it will go to a court, that if they don't get on it, they're out.
Well, look, the point about that is the British people would rightly expect, of course, people coming to our country would have basically safe and decent accommodation. What they don't expect is that we're spending £6 million a day on four-star hotel accommodation. So this is about fairness. Yes, of course, fairness to migrants, but also fairness to the British people. And we are very clear that it is safe and it is reasonable that people should be provided with acceptable accommodation, but not accommodation necessarily which goes beyond that, which costs huge amounts of money.
Why do we have such a backlog of cases that require examination by caseworkers?
Well, partly it's because there is a lot of illegal immigration, cross-channel crossings, 40, 50,000. And this is precisely why we've taken the step for this robust legislation to stop the boats. And it's difficult and it requires us to do things like Rwanda, but we are necessarily robust because you cannot erode the backlog if the bucket is constantly being filled by more water being poured in the top.
OK, I hear what you say there, but why does it take 18 months to process someone's application in this country where typically it takes 9 in France and 10 months in Italy? Why so long in the United Kingdom?
Well, two things I'd say. First of all, actually, the Home Office is really improving in the sense it's doubling the number of caseworkers. Two, the number of decisions is up by 35%, and the backlog
the average is
down
4 a month? Most caseworkers get through 4, i.e. 1 a week.
Well, it is speeding up, but that's a matter for the Home Office. I'm the Justice Secretary, as you know, but I don't know that the specifics.
How can it take a week to decide on someone's right to stay in this country or not?
The government are keen to show us the barge and say, look at the barge, look at what we're doing. But your critics will say, look at the backlog. We can't see it, but that's the real issue here, that the numbers of people waiting to have their claims processed just isn't coming down fast enough, that's the real issue you're not tackling.
Well, the first point about those critics who would make that point is please join us then in trying to stop the boats, because the very reason why there is a backlog is because water keeps being poured into the bucket, if you like, by people coming over the channel. And yet, you've got the opposition, who are our critics that you refer to, who voted against illegal migration.
Move on to a slightly different area, the sort of green agenda, if you like, and we know obviously the Prime Minister's made moves with these new oil and gas licences and all this sort of thing. What do you make of what George Eustice, former Environment Secretary, has had to say about oil and those people who use oil to heat their homes because they're off the grid? There's a ban coming into force in 3 years. He's saying that's not fair. It's a ULEZ-style disaster on sort of rural communities.
Right. Well, I mean, that specific area, part of the portfolio is for a different part of government.
How many asylum seekers or migrants do you think will be placed on the Bibi Stockholm today?
Well, it's not all in our hands, as has been made clear. It's going to depend on legal challenges. We want to ensure that it is ramped up to its full capacity over time. That's what we want to do. But we do have challenges. We do have people who want to thwart us at every turn, and they want to use the law. And I want to draw a distinction. I'm not suggesting those are bent lawyers and of the type that I've been speaking about before. But they're trying to use every tool. Yeah, they're trying to use every tool to block it. And I think that's regrettable. I think their arguments are wrong. I think it's opportunistic. I think it's late in the day. I think it's misconceived and wrong-headed. But we will make all those arguments in the court in the normal way, and we'll have to devote more taxpayers' money to do it.